Good afternoon and welcome back to Laurel Park. Thank you for joining us this morning on Today at the Races. I'm Gabby Gaudette, joined by Keith Fustel. And unfortunately, last weekend we were off the turf for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but it looks like the weather is going to be holding up at least for this afternoon as we were fast and firm on the main track.
A deluge last week just wiped us out. But, we survived. We got through it. Yeah, looking forward to getting back on the turf today. We'll start fast and firm. We'll monitor that turf condition as it goes. We'll see if it gets cut up a little bit early, then we may have to adjust on the condition.
And it's feeling more and more like fall here in Maryland.
No
We
doubt.
have nice fall weather. We'll get to those track and weather conditions in just a bit, but wanted to remind everybody, mark your calendars. It's coming up. And that is Maryland Million Day on October 22nd. And there's so much going on kind of the week leading into it. I believe the Saturday prior, October 15th, is the Maryland Million 5K. I wish I could be in attendance. I will not be. Fortunately, my cousin is getting married, so I will
so
not
you've got
be.
an excuse.
Yes,
There
I
you
have
go.
a little bit of an excuse.
Okay.
But Saturday, October 22nd, come out and join us. And as you can see there, October 15th, release your inner thoroughbred, the Maryland Million 5K. I did do it last year. I've done it a couple years. It's really fun. And really, the Maryland Million Gala, that's the night before Maryland Million. There's so many events. So come out and join us here at Laurel. It's going to be Maryland's Day at the Races.
Yeah, I remember playing in the golf tournament a couple times and maybe winning that thing one time with a group that, we had to overcome. I'm not saying some sandbaggers out there, and I'm not going to name names. This was years ago at Piney Branch, but we got the job done with a team that definitely would have been considered a long shot.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, see, there's all fun to go around there in the week leading into Maryland Million Day. So that'll be fun. We'll get to today, though, and look at our featured wagers. We don't have any carryovers today. They took it all down on Sunday afternoon, but we do have that Super High 5. That actually starts in race 3. There's not enough betting interest in the first 2 races, but we do have the early pick 5 is a mandatory payout. Late pick 5, that carries over if it is not hit. And then we do have the Rainbow 6. You have a late pick 4
I've got a
ticket.
late pick 4. Yeah, I like the late pick 4. I was able
That's
to
good.
kind of put together a decent ticket for $30. Very reasonable. And I know Stan, I think he's going to have a pick 6 ticket.
All right, we'll get to that, but first we'll go out and take a look at the track and weather conditions. And it's a bit overcast, a bit cloudy today too, but we're probably going to get into the low 70s. And overcast, nice fall weather. So far, we're fast and firm on the turf. 9 races on tap at a 1:10 p.m. first post time. So, like we said, we weren't on the turf all of last weekend, so we really have to be cognizant and pay attention to how these turf races are playing today.
No doubt about it. The one thing we definitely noticed, it's really greening back up nicely, and it's looking good. And, a little break might have done it some good, and let's hope we can kind of not have much more rain here in the next week or so, because it's really green. You see it, they're really greening up nicely. And looking forward to moving into the Maryland Million. Hopefully we can carry it with good weather and have that turf course in great condition.
Yep, let's hope so. All right, we'll get to the 9 races on tap on this Friday card. And as previously mentioned, the first race kicks off the early pick 5, but no Super High 5 wagering with the scratch of the 7 in here. It's a maiden $16,000 event, 6 furlongs on the main track. And I have an early pick 5 ticket. Honestly, Keith, in both the early pick 5 and the late pick 5, I had a tough time really keeping it around $50.
Wow,
So
okay.
you're going to have to spend a little bit more.
You got a little leeway here. You gave out one, last week or the week before that was huge. So you can go ahead and throw some of these $70, $80 tickets up. I mean, you're right on target of late. You, Vinny, Stan, everybody kind of getting in the mix in some of these tickets.
1,400, right?
That's huge.
We hit it. We hit a
Yes, you did.
$1,400 ticket,
Yeah.
I think, on a $54 play. So some good luck we've had lately. And I wanted to mention, I was incorrect. We do have Super High 5 wagering in the first race. There are 7 betting interests in there, so you need 7 or more. So Super High 5 wagering does start in today's opener, Keith. And we'll take a look at the first race. I'll use 3 horses to start us off with the 3, 4, and the 6. The 3 Archie's Revenge. is a first-time starter that I'm interested in. I'm not a big fan of the favorite in the 6 Twist of Lime. The connections for the 3 Archie's Revenge, I ran some statistics with maiden first-time starters, actually 4 for 9, so 44%, 56% in the money, and a positive ROI of $7.17. And I know it's early money, there's not much in the pools right now, but it's kind of encouraging to see this horse being bet.
Oh yeah, we've got a couple of races. We got a race similar on Sunday when you're lining. You get some of these horses. One horse has done okay, had a little experience, has some decent races under its belt, as is Twist of Lime. You're just not sure all the time how the money's going to feed in on some of the unproven horses. The first, as you said, Archie's Revenge, the barn. He had 2 for 5 over the last, I think, 4 or 5 years with 2-year-old first-time starters. So the barn is very capable. This horse is a half-to-star maneuver, a horse we've seen around here for a long, long time. Is an 8-time winner on the dirt.
Okay, and the 6 Twist of Lime is that 9-5 favorite, and I think very vulnerable. Even, you go back to when he faced Stakes Company, Restricted Stakes Company last time out against West Virginia breds, but even prior to that, Keith, his race at Timonium, he was on the wrong lead, coming down the stretch. He just didn't look like he wanted to cross the finish line first.
No, not at all. I mean, he had the one thing to his benefit. He beat Hosway, who went up to win a maiden special weight at Charlestown with a decent figure, going 7 furlongs. I'm going to use the favorite in the mix. I'm also going to use the 4 Haircut Bill, a barn that does very well with 2-year-olds, especially second time out. Just an even race there at Charlestown. A sloppy sealed surface, was caught a little bit towards the inside between horses. Blinkers, Lasix, a little double whammy here for a barn that can strike second time out with 2-year-olds.
A lot of the time we see that, Jose Corrales, if they don't deliver in their first start, he makes a lot of adjustments and it seems to pay off. So I'm going to be using all 3 of those horses as we kick off the early pick 5. Once again, that is a mandatory payout, and there will be super high 5 wagering in the first race as we get to the second 6 furlongs on the main track. For this open $15,000 claiming event, we have a scratch of the 2 Spiced Commander. I think this is a key scratch, a horse that figured to take some money.
Yeah, she was going to take on the boys, and she certainly had a legitimate shot. I made her a slight favorite, 2-1 morning line favorite. I encountered a ton of trouble at the break at Delaware last time and closed a lot of ground. We'll wait for another day for Spiced Commander. I'll go to the other Jerry Brooks horse. It stays in, Conzi Hold, number 6 with Victor Carrasco. Had done okay on the synthetic surface at Prescott, but once this horse stepped on the Laurel track, caught a little muddy sealed surface that day, but boy, he just measured the leader in hand, and when he wanted to go mid-turn, he went and drew off. Tossed the last, a much tougher field at Monmouth when he's bogged down inside. He couldn't keep up. I think he's got the right kind of flow here. He may have to track the outside horse to 7 one step closer for Pecoraro, and we've talked about him time and time again. All he does is come down here and do well.
Absolutely. The 6 Conzi Hold, I was kind of on the fence with him. I respect him, and I'll use him in the early pick 5, but will he be able to duplicate a performance that he did on the muddy sealed track? Sometimes we see horses who like that tighter synthetic surface. They like that tighter sealed surface, and sometimes they don't like it when the track is open on the main track. So Conzi Hold, I do like him a bit, but I prefer the 5 Full Quest, and this is a horse too who maybe doesn't do his best running on and off track, and he's unfortunately had that scenario in many of his career starts. The one most recently was on a fast track, 3 starts back in May, and he had to go against the likes of Recruiting Ready, who is a multiple graded stakes placer.
Yeah, he's hooked a couple horses that are really, really fast early. Deco Czar, I think, is a Flint Stites horse, incredibly fast. Recruiting Ready, the same thing. This field is not going to get away from Full Quest. Takes a nice aggressive jump, fits right in the mix. He's a grinder. He'll stay up there, I believe, a long, long way in here.
And now I want to get your opinion on the 7 One Step Closer, because Big Slick and One Step Closer, they faced each other 2 starts back, or at least 1 step closer, 2 starts back. And Big Slick got the better of him, even though this horse did dictate on the front end.
He did. He had everything his own way. Maybe they figured something out there. That was first time Lasix. Now it's second time Lasix. You saw a big move up, and this horse took pressure. He was down inside. The only thing I didn't like, he was on that left lead, widening late, kind of. We've seen that at Delaware. Horses, they pull away, but they're just not doing it powerfully. He just kind of did it steadily late. He's going to go, I think, right to the front. Conzi will try to put him into a spot. He might be able to rate if needed 1 step closer, the way he showed that gameness down inside. But yeah, Big Slick. I do think, with the gelding, he's going to report first time gelding here today. His only trial in the dirt with First Lasix was good, but he's going to have to move up. That was a slow final 8th that day. I think One Step Closer certainly made a much better improvement. He's going to have to match the improvement of One Step Closer.
I don't trust either of them.
Yeah,
so
okay.
I'm going
I don't
a
blame
different
you. I don't
direction
blame
in
you.
that race.
Yeah.
We'll get to the third here, an open $15,000 claiming event. First race that will be on the turf today. We go out to the Kelso, the rail set at 35 feet for this mile and a 16th race. And, you know, we have another race where we have a key scratch of the 10, Ocala Jim. This horse was coming in off a victory. He figured to take some money too. And perhaps this is where the 5, Arctic North, will perhaps be pretty heavily bet in this race.
I think he's going to get bet, no doubt about it. He stepped on the Laurel turf course on September the 11th and really relished it. He was well in hand. Anytime Fergal Lynch wanted to go, he had it. He chirped to him ahead of the stretch. He had plenty left in reserve. He was a horse that has a ton of back class. I think he's got this field tactically, maybe a little bit of class-wise, positionally, really in a tough spot. He's got the major advantage over this field. He's not going to be 9-2 now, I don't think.
But you're going against him.
No, didn't I use him?
Oh.
I put the wrong number. My bad. Like I said, I told you, I'm a single parent this weekend. The wife and child are out. We're going to go with the 5, Arctic North. My
5,
my
11,
bad.
9.
5-11-9. My
Okay.
apologies.
All right. Well, in this case, maybe you might want to put a little wager on the 4. I stand
Yes,
alone,
we've
too.
seen that all too often.
The one thing about Arctic North, and yes, he got a major class relief. I mean, he was competing against horses like Winter Springs, Farhan, Neo Classic, you know, Open Company up at Saratoga. He got that major class relief here on the major drop. And he won nicely. As you said, Fergal Lynch had this horse. It had every other horse in there measured, and he did it easily. I did find a stat. I wanted to show the graphic just for, you know, an extra.
To stick it to me?
Yeah,
No.
an extra one. But Dave Knizzo,
Okay.
with winners last out, coming back and repeating on the turf, he's 0 for 14. So I thought that was kind of an
that's
astounding
significant.
stat.
Yeah.
And only 2 for 14 in the money. So it's not like
Oh.
majority of them are hitting the board.
Yeah.
Now this could be the exception, not the rule, because he does have so much back class. But it gave me, that stat gave me enough, you know, stamina and confidence to maybe go against him today. And that's the 11, Intrepid Citizen. He's a horse. He's hard to get on. He can run very well, and other times he just doesn't show up. So I think that's what makes him a tricky horse. But I like the fact that Trevor McCarthy stays aboard. That last race came up relatively tough. Heiko.
Oh, came back and ran a 99 in the
Yeah.
Commonwealth Turf Cup. Wow, that was incredible.
I
Okay.
know. So, I mean, Open the Bank got an 81 buyer speed figure for that. He's a hard one to catch, but
Yes.
I do think that he could be sitting on a big one coming out of that starter.
Yeah, and you made the point that Trevor on him last time. I like the way he rode this horse last time out. He was up a little too close, 3 back. He wants to have something to run at. He was caught a little down inside. I think he can draft over into position. I think he's got enough tactical speed that he doesn't have to be used too hard early, and Trevor will shake him up, and he'll just make a steady run from off of it in the final 3/8 of a mile.
You looked at a horse a bit, the 9 Legendary King, who I actually used in my early pick 5 because I kept looking at him. He's not in my top 3, but I did use him because he's always right there. It looks
He
like a
is.
horse that needs a bit of pace, though.
He does. I don't think things are going to get real hot and heavy on the front end. And to that fact, that's why I used him in the 3rd position, maybe a 4 spot. He's maybe a good superfecta type of horse to key around. And I think you'll still get an honest price based on the connections. They don't draw a ton of play. And they went back in and got this horse. So, yeah, well, I'm going to try to buck your stat there with Arctic North. We're going to see if we can get it done.
Okay, the 7, Yes I See, just wanted to briefly mention this horse because the fact that you alluded to. I think the 6, Piccadilly Pete, should be forwardly placed, but Yes I See, kind of an aggressive early move last time out, and I think today, hopefully, he can be more forwardly placed and maybe pressure some of the early leaders. I think he's a horse that runs better on or near the lead, so I'll be using him as we do have a key scratch of the 10, Ocala Jim in there. Let's move on to race 4, going out to the Fort Marcy, the rail setting at 87 feet, a mile and a 16th for the starter optional claimer, and this does kick off the Rainbow 6. It was hit last weekend, but Stan Salter, my afternoon co-host, pick a ticket really quickly here. I actually didn't take a look at it. It was $50.40.
There it is. Okay.
He loves Oh no, he didn't do the double single today, but he loves to do the double single and then the all button. But today, no,
All right.
he's not going to do it. So 7 with all, with 6-10, with 1-11-12, with 2-4, and the 4-7-8. I think Stan has another story about the pick 5
Oh.
at Rosecroft last night, so we're going to have to.
Did he hit again?
I think he got shut out.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so really
He's
depressing
the king of the
story.
trots right now.
I know.
I'm telling you. Yeah, hats off
know.
to Stan pulling double duty, and he's hitting on both ends.
Hard
I love
work.
it. Yeah.
A lot of hard work here. But race 4 does kick off that pick 6, as we mentioned here, Keith. And this is where my bold single comes into the early pick 5 with the 7 Capuchin. I just thought this horse ran a really, really solid race last time out. And I thought she even faced slightly tougher for the level than what she's facing today.
Yeah, she ran lights out. Took all the pressure. Her 2-back try, she was caught wide. I liked her last time, just couldn't follow through. She was a really short price. Interesting fact here, is she going to get pestered a little bit by a horse like She's Dynamite? Naya, we don't know really kind of what she's going to do. Is she going to have some company up on the front end? But Trevor will have this horse rated kindly, yeah, and she'll fight you tooth and nail, no doubt. She's going to be there a long, long way. I'll take a little flyer with the 9, Seeing is Believing, for trainer Hamilton Smith, a new face in the Hammy Smith barn coming in from Indiana. But the tries were okay. The 2-back try before a little layoff in June 17th was decent. Majestic Angel was 3-5 that day. It's come back and run credibly against Allowance Company at Indiana, okay, in Kentucky Downs, I believe. I think this horse is going to get a good stalking trap. Maybe take the aim of Capuchin and maybe wear that one down late.
I could see that. I do think it's kind of a rider's race, and I'm interested to see what tactics Trevor McCarthy takes on Capuchin, because when he was aboard her before, I know that was sprinting, and then they stretched her out to a distance of ground on the dirt. So it's hard to compare, but she wasn't close, and I almost wonder if she's a horse that wants a target, that wants to close into the pace.
That's true.
Whereas she kind of tuckered out a little bit the latter half of the stretch last time out because she was on the lead. So I think she might be a bit more versatile than what her paper suggests in terms of her running style. But Seeing and Believing, Hammy Smith, he does well with these acquisitions. First-time trainer stats, they're pretty good. So 7, I'm going to stick with her. But with the 6, Beaches and Bourbon, this is another one who was disqualified after winning by 5 lengths against $16,000 claimers. And, I thought that regardless, it was the right call, but regardless, it looked like she was going to win that race.
Oh, yeah.
However, she did get a very favorable setup. They went fast in front of her.
They went wicked fast. Elusis went out there and was like 10 or 12 in front after 3/4 of a mile. The race kind of fell apart, but she was the only one doing any real running the last 1/8 of a mile. She went by them like they were tied to a tree. I like the protect move for trainer Linda Albert. The one, my Dinah Lee, she's a tricky filly. I've commented about her before. She ran really good in the Brook meet, all things considered, but she got the right kind of ride again. The rider Sheldon Russell was able to kind of get her up behind a wall of horses into the far turn, keep her attention. When she gets outside, she loses focus. She's got to be bottled up a long, long way, and she'll give you that last burst, 3/16 of a mile. Niall Sabilla trying to get off the schneid. Just hasn't followed through and gotten to the winner's circle.
It's been close, just not finding the winner's circle. But my Dinah Lee, the only one thing that I can maybe say about her, and we'll see how the turf is playing today, it doesn't look like she likes a turf with any bit of moisture in it. She likes a firmer going. So hopefully we can see that play into her favor this afternoon. But that is races 1 through 4. Once again, the 4th kicks off the Rainbow Six. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the Pick 5 and Keith's late Pick 4 ticket right after this.
Save the date, October 22nd. Don't miss the 31st annual running of the Jim McKay Maryland Million at Laurel Park. Entertainment for the whole family. Don't miss the fun at Laurel Park, Saturday, October 22nd. For more information, visit MarylandMillion.com or MarylandRacing.com.
Welcome back to Today at the Races. Gabby Gaudette, joined by Keith Fustel. And looking at race 5, it does kick off the late Pick 5, and I do have a ticket, and wanted to quickly mention, though, we did downgrade the turf to good.
Yeah, I got a text from Georgianne Hale, and she had said, turf condition, we're going to start it good today.
All right, so make sure you take note of that adjustment, and we'll take a look at the late pick 5 sequence. And this is the ticket. I couldn't find a single. I thought it was very difficult, so I'm interested to see your take on the late pick 4, Keith, and see how these two tickets compare. But we'll start with the 4, 5, 8 with the 8, 10, 8, 14, 2, 4, 6, and the 4, 6, 7, and the 8. I think the last race is a spread race. I could have even used more than that if you're playing the pick 6 with a 20-cent base wager. That's the leg that you really want to find value in.
Yeah, this is a tough sequence of races. Pick 5, late pick 4. I'm trying to keep it reasonable, like a couple middle price horses, but it is a tough go, and I expect a decent payout in this late pick 5 and the pick 4.
Okay, we'll get to race 5, 6 furlongs there on the main track for this maiden claimer. And I'm going to the 4, La La Bamba here, first time on the main track. And you look at the pedigree, this 2-year-old filly is by Patio Prado, so obviously does have turf influence there, El Prado and the bloodlines. But he's an okay sire with dirt horses.
No, been fine. Been fine. The blinkers go on. I mean, 2 just average races against Maiden Special Weight Company. And, you know, I just think the transfer back to the dirt is going to be the wake-up call. You talked about her breeding. I mean, you know, 3 or 4 foals that have done a lot of winning sprinting on the dirt. This is the right spot. I think a little drop in class. The blinkers go on with some focus. Suspect horses abound in here. I think she's a user. She might hedge down off that 6-1. I know the bettors they like betting Lacey a little bit here, especially of late. So La La Bamba I'm going to use. I still think she's going to be a fair price.
I think she's going to be better on the dirt, no doubt about it. I know you see the Patio Prado, Not for Love, oftentimes turf influence, but Bamba, on top of some of the siblings doing their better running on the dirt, Bamba, the mare, she was a stakes-placed sprinter on the dirt. So there's dirt pedigree abound there on the bottom side. You and I agree on that horse. The 8 Phantom Shot is a horse I'll throw into the exacta here. A filly who has some speed, and I thought she was, you know, they put the blinkers on her last time out. She drew the rail, and I thought she was compromised by that post position. I don't think she wants to be on the engine like that, and now draws a much favorable position on the outside.
Yeah, now she could just take aim again on maybe Frisian Gal will have to take the initiative from down inside. She doesn't want to get bottled up. I think Frisian Gal is definitely a user in here. Yeah, Phantom Shot really hasn't run bad at all. I think she's going to appreciate being outside, stalking, making a move into it. She's definitely shown a little bit of fight in her 3 races. I also use the 6 Holiday Magician, hammered down below even, actually say the 9-5 at Timonium in that debut, keying up against some okay horses. Spicy Girl Red's gotten some play against similar. She made a big move after kind of getting jostled around at the start, just flattened out late, tried to turf back to the dirt, a little drop. I think all those things combined is going to put her in a good effort, poised to stalk maybe the speed and the duel of the 2 Frisian Gal and the 8 Phantom Shot.
We could see that happen in Holiday Magic. The filly that won her debut race, she came back to win, I think, a nice little allowance at Delaware. So that race has been pretty productive, and she should benefit from that class relief in race 5. And honestly, I picked the 6 Holiday Magician 4th. Not much separated, several horses. I like the post position for Phantom Shot. You know, I think Beautiful Night Sky, she's a horse that probably is bred to move up on the dirt. I kind of like the 4. So maybe I think the first and the last leg of the pick 5 is really where you want to be creative.
And I think isn't, if I'm not mistaken, Stan hit the all button. Maybe in this race. So, yeah, I can't blame him at all. One little fact about Bamba, too, you're talking about La La Bamba, the mare. Foals combined 6 for 19 at 2. So they do win early.
Okay, that is race 5. Once again, maiden claimer that kicks off the late pick 5. We'll take a look at the 6th race. The pick 4 starts in this race. We head out to the Kelso Turf Course, rail set at 35 feet, 5.5 furlongs for this allowance race. Keith, let's take a look at your ticket, and then we'll get into the replay.
I narrowed it down to 2 in here. I really like Lady Allegra and My Sister Caro. I think Summer Frock has run a couple hard races back-to-back. Is she going to be able to follow through? I worry about Dare to Be, but My Sister Caro cleaning up against elusive Joni Good, Lady Allegra. I know she's off time, but this barn can get them the win off time. I think they are the 2 shots to use in race 6. Race 7 is a scramble for me. I think a blow-up horse I'm going to use on top is High Bar, an old favorite of mine, catching your ground.
I had a feeling you were going to pick that horse.
I'm going to use him. I mean, he doesn't mind a little bit of giving the ground. 1, 4, 11, 12, 14. Available sneaky. Not a ton of speed in race 7. He carried the field a long, long time. Last time in that Virginia bred race. In race 8, another good one, 2, 4, 6. And we'll go 2 deep in the last, let's go make that the 6 and the 7, guys. We're going to change that up again. The 6 participate with Jason Egan, definitely going to use, and Maryland Bird, 6 and 7. So Jason Egan's horse participate. I think he catches the right kind of field. Maybe the lone speed. She could be the lone speed in that race. So
right.
that's it. $30 tickets.
That
Yep.
is it. 30 is definitely affordable for the late pick 4, so especially if you get a nice price there in the second to last leg
Yeah.
of the sequence. We'll get to this race though, and we'll start off with talking about the favorite, Lady Allegra, who she does come off a layoff, Keith, and last time we saw her was back on the 10th of April when she was sprinting against Allowance Company, and she was coming out of a distance race at Tampa, and I thought a good performance. She was down on the
Yeah.
inside rail in the Team Valor colors.
Yeah, not a real big filly, and she got back to doing what I think she wants to do, and that is sprint. And you see her slip down along the inside, and she almost goes clear, I think briefly clear mid-stretch, and she looks like she's going to do it, but gets run down on the outside. Seeking Paradise just a little bit better that day. Turned out to be a pretty good race because Seeking Paradise, I think, came back recently, an 87 against Lady Shipment, a recent second in a 2 other than at Kentucky Downs, running a buyer of 85. No shame in that performance, and she's poised. She's going to be able to track from outside. I just don't want Acosta moving too soon. Just get early position, put the hammer down once the field hits the top of the stretch. This trainer, he gets these horses ready. They usually don't come up short off a layoff.
No, definitely not. Whether
Nope.
it's sprinting or going around of ground, he always gets them ready coming
Yep.
off the shelf. But the one thing about that race, and I'm still on the fence about it, because yes, the winner has gone on to be pretty
Yeah.
accomplished, but I thought she had the most beautiful
yeah.
trip down on the inside, rating, the seas parted down on the rail, and she didn't deliver. So I think that gives you the opportunity to maybe use another horse
Right.
in the pick 4, pick 5, and try to beat her. The 8, My Sister Caro, you and I see eye to eye with this horse because I know she's raced at Penn National, Delaware. How did those races key up against Allowance Company here? Honestly, they've been good. Alpha Slew, she went on to win a 2 other than recently at Penn National. Elusive Joni, she won a 2 other than here with an 83 buyer speed figure. So even though she's met company out of town, they've been solid contenders.
Absolutely. We saw Elusive Joni here. That was a tough race at Penn National last time out when she took on some boys as well, and not to be discouraged at all. Trainer Clyde Martin's got this horse in really good form right now.
Absolutely. And beyond that, though, the 5 Dare to Be, I think she's one that's kind of tricky, too. I want to quickly mention about this horse because Fly Girl, Dare to Be, and Summer Frock, those 3 horses come out of the same race. And watching that race, watching how the turf kind of played that day, I think it benefited Summer Frock and kind of hindered horses like Fly Girl and Dare to Be.
Agreed. Dancing Lucy, Summer Frock around there the whole way. They went in a big extended duel and lasted. Dare to Be, I think, will move up. Had a little trouble early. Sweet Sway is going to be my blow-up horse to use in here. Barn will not get a ton of play, but she keys up against a horse like Hug a Tree, who certainly would fit in this race. So I'll use her. Maybe use her in your tries and your superfectas.
All right, that kicks off the late pick 4. Keith had a ticket. We'll try to show it on the afternoon, too, because you've been good with those things. We get to the 7th race to kick off the final pick 3 of the day. And I think this race was immensely affected after the scratches. We have horses that drawing off the also eligible, horses that are now out, including my top selection. But we go to the Fort Marcy here for this 5.5 furlong sprint, a nice 2 other than allowance. And I think 2 very key horses drawing off the also eligible, the 1 Not a Chance and the 14 Good Feng Shui.
Good Feng Shui is an old favorite. You know, he's just an 8-year-old, and all he does is try, and he's cycling back into some of his top form right now, and I think he's going to appreciate maybe a little give in the ground. He's going to get an okay flow up front, and that extra distance is going to help him. That extra 16th of a mile is going to be good. He's going to be circling fire on. You see him beat Not a Chance, Make My Saturdays, a horse that's run okay around here. He's going to be a little further back. I think High Bar's my price play, the 4, is going to maybe get the jump on him, and he's going to have to look in the rear view mirror. But High Bar is another horse. He likes a little cut in the ground. 2 back, had a lot of traffic that last 1/8 of a mile. He's kind of bottled up, and I don't think he was on the best part of the turf course September the 18th. I think he's going to finally move back up. Speed enough to be tactical in here, and I think he's going to grind you out at a price.
And you know, if you're a fan of patterns and horses running patterns. He often starts just getting good now,
That's
like in the
right.
latter
Good
half
point.
of the turf season. So once we start getting into October, November, that's when he starts blowing up the tote board. So I can't argue. That's a nice price, and he draws a nice inside post too. But I'm still sticking with the 14 good feng shui, and exactly what you mentioned. Last time out, he ran so well. It looked like he even won the race. He just had this late closing surge, maybe even a delayed move. If he would have gotten
Right,
the
a
gears
little bit
going
sooner.
a little bit sooner, he could have
Well,
won.
he's 8. You got to give him a little
Yeah,
break.
gotta
It
give
takes
him
a
a
little
little bit
while.
of a break. But the second wire finish at 5.5 here, it's really going to be beneficial for a horse like that. Available. He runs his eyeballs out every time, but he just cannot find the winner's circle. I think he's
2 for
camera
37.
shy.
He's better than that. I mean, that's the problem.
He is better than
you
that.
feel bad. 9 seconds and some really tough beats. But what I think he's going to be right on the engine today. And no disgrace last time. He beat a horse like Two Notch Road, who's certainly proven available a long, long way here. And Joseph, kind of maybe, did he hit another level last time out when winning that A other than you showed, a good close into a lone speed type 2 races back. He's definitely moving in the right direction for Rodney.
I just looked at the one thing I don't like about Joseph is I don't know how strong his company lines have
agreed.
been comparable to
Yep.
what he's facing here today. So I think for the level, it is much tougher. So he's going to have to take that step up in order to beat his company today. But we get to the 8th race, the first half of the late daily double, our feature race of the day. A first level allowance, 6 furlongs onto the main track. And this is a head scratcher.
Yeah.
This one, I would have even preferred to click the all button because really any horse could win this
I
race.
almost made every horse like 5-1 in here on
Yeah.
the morning line. I really was in a scramble, and you get to a point, your eyes just are going every race direction. You're like, this is it. I give
And you're
up.
playing
Let's
Mr. Mom this weekend,
let's
too.
throw them all together and see what we come up with. I'll go with Table Jumper. Interesting move trying the turf. I can see why they tried the turf last time. I think one of the recent siblings did okay on the grass. Didn't take to it all. You see the ease walked off comment, but I like how she comes back quickly. A good work over the track. She ran well fresh. Wins her debut beating a horse like Jump for Love. I think she's going to carry on. She doesn't have to get much faster than her 2-year-old numbers to go ahead and beat this field, and she'll have some targets to run out with Have Hope and Majestic Holiday.
And she didn't do much running in that race, and it was off a layout. So you have to you have to question, well, is she the same filly this year? Why did they give her time after a 2-year-old season? Or was it just the turf? There's questions abound, but that's where you get a little bit of value. And she clearly is. She definitely is a better sprinter on the dirt. And I don't think she got much out of that last race.
No,
That
right.
said, Hammy Smith, he fine tunes them in the morning, so you know she's going to be fit.
You see a 3/4 work back September 2nd, another 3/4 work September 9th, where they really kind of put the hammer down September 9th, 1:14.3. That's a solid work in the morning over this racetrack. So I think she's going to be poised for a big effort today. Just throw out the last.
Okay, we get to the 2. If I Was a Boy, we'll go way back to Pimlico. We'll go down memory lane to the springtime here on the 19th of June at Pimlico. This filly was sprinting 5.5 furlongs, and she just looks like one that has had a tendency to kind of be in and out of form. She put it all together at Laurel back in April, and since then, I thought she came back to run 2 very credible races. That was the first time blinkers on when she did find the winner's circle, getting her maiden score. She came back to face Street Cruiser, credible second at 16-1. Street Cruiser really in form at that time, and came back to be the beaten favorite, but she was kind of down inside an intimidating position. She had her head high the entire way. It didn't look like she liked to be covered up behind horses. So now Jevion Toledo, it is his first time on this horse, but I'm hoping he can kind of get a little bit of a clearer run.
No doubt about it. And she's another one, though. She's run well fresh in the past. And her debut run as a 2-year-old was really, really good. Behind Miss Inclusive, that was a service horse, I think, that ran off the screen that day at Laurel. And she called from the 13 hole. The Lasix went on. We saw some steady improvement. She's fine. This little break from June to October doesn't scare me at all for the 2 If I Was a Boy.
And there's not much killer instinct for the 4, just one of a kind. What do you do with a horse like this? In my opinion, I had to use her in the late pick 5 because Linda Rice, she ships in with a purpose, and I don't want this horse that's 1 for 11 to kick me out of the pick 5.
No, you've seen where she can just jump up. She's got a 78 on the page, which pretty much buries everybody in the field. And you see that little turf to dirt out of a 62 horse sample, 39%. Yeah, I don't think you're going to go ahead and leave this horse out of your multi-race gimmicks.
Yeah,
No.
don't do that.
Uh-uh.
Listen to us. Don't
No.
do it. We get
She's
to the.
tough.
She is very tough. I think at one point in time she was batting at like 40%
Yeah.
chipping in here.
Uh-huh.
So a very, very dangerous barn to look out for. We get to the 9th and final race on the Kelso 35 feet. Maiden $16,000 event, and I'm sticking between the 6 and the 7. 7 on top,
Yeah.
Maryland Bird for me, for trainer Mike Trombetta. And they stepped her up in class in her second start after a good performance at 15-1 against Maiden Claimers. And no harm in trying. It's funny though because she doesn't have a tremendous turf pedigree, but it
No.
looks like she can run on the turf.
Yeah, she can. I asked the same thing. July 9th is kind of weird. I mean, and I hate these kind of horses because I either use them on top or I don't use them
Toss
at
'em.
all. And in this field though, and getting Trevor, I'm going to go ahead and use her back. I'm taking the 2 horses, dropping from maiden special weight. We talked about participating a little bit earlier when we went through that pick 4 ticket. Dave Rodman even commented to me this morning. She was acting up a little bit behind the gate, in the gate last time. It just might have thrown her off her game because I expected more speed. You look at the 2-back try, August the 20th, was good enough speed down inside, falter, but the number's good enough to beat this field. I think she can go out and clear these horses and relax on the lead and go wire to wire at this level.
She could potentially wire. I think the only horse that could soften her up a bit is the 10 Kanaka to the outside.
Yeah.
She's got some speed. She gets in with a lightweight with
Yeah.
Ashley Castrense, so maybe that's the only one. But I do think, considering the class relief, considering that she did make, she was forwardly placed against Maiden Special Weight Company,
Yeah.
she can take a little bit of pressure and keep going.
No doubt. Kanaka took the blinkers off and didn't show that rambunctious speed that she maybe showed at Delaware, but you're right. Definitely is a factor to participate on the front end.
And I'll just throw in Cherished Prize. These are the Rodney Jenkins horses that just suddenly decide to put all the pieces together. And I will say she was a little bit compromised by the pace last time out, but in a couple of the starts prior to that, it just looked like she just didn't have the will to win.
No.
But I'll use her. You land on the inside horse.
Yeah, just taking a shot on the stretch out. I like the breeding for the turf. It didn't really show a ton of late run, late run, but the record for Matt Sprinter route, you see that 0 for 42. Oy.
Not good.
No.
Oy.
Ouch.
I like that.
Yeah.
All right, that is races 1 through 9. We do not have any carryovers today, but we do have super high five wagering that starts in the first race, as well as the mandatory payout in that early pick 5, the pick 6 in race 4, and the late pick 5 in race 5. I think we got it all
Yeah.
sorted here. We are fast and good
Yeah.
on the turf today. We finally get back to the turf.
Back to the turf, and it's a good betting card. I
It
mean,
is.
it's there's nothing that's going to really jump up out at you. But if you're strategic enough and you can just kind of throw a couple together, like Stan's got a single, if you can find 1 or 2 nuggets in there and work off of them, I think you're going to be okay today.
I echo those sentiments as well. Thank you once again for joining us here on Today at the Races. That's a wrap for us, but Dave Rodman will be up shortly with those scratches and changes. Good luck.
Good luck.